Solo Survivor food preparation video.
Hi everybody, Ruckus in the North here. Today we're going to learn about making beef jerky. It's going to be a pretty simple process. I'm going to take some eye of round beef that I have here. And if you're not familiar with what eye of round is, it's, oh, geez. Well, it looks like this anyway. I forget what part of the cow it comes from, to be honest with you. But I think in the United States it is called a different type of meat. So I'll try to draw a picture and put it up on the screen for you guys so you know what it is. So I'm going to take the eye of round and I'm going to throw it in the freezer for the first step. That'll make it really easy for me to slice up into 1/8 inch slices. I wish I had a meat slicer to do it. Unfortunately I don't. So that's the way I'm going to have to go ahead and proceed. So I'm going to do that. Afterwards I'm going to throw all the cut pieces into the marinade. So step one is throw it in the freezer. Step two is going to be to prepare the marinade. Step three is going to be to slice it. And then step four is going to be to throw it in the marinade and let it sit overnight. And then afterwards I'll start dehydrating it after about 12 hours or so of soaking up the flavor. So my beef jerky marinade needs to be made while I'm waiting for the eye of round to freeze up a little bit more. So it's a real simple recipe. All I use is some of this smoke flavor. It's hickory. I've got about 3/4 pound of dark brown sugar, and I've got 4 cups of soy sauce. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the soy sauce in the bowl. Like that. And then I'm going to take a spoon and just gradually stir in the brown sugar. So I'm just going to stir that up until I know that there's no brown sugar in there that's left clumped. I want it 100% dissolved. And then I'm going to add the smoke flavor in here. So I want to put about 2/3 of this bottle in. If you want more of a smoky flavor, you can add more. I've done this recipe before and I used a full bottle. And I just felt that it was a little bit too much for me. I just pulled this out of the freezer, and it's definitely just the right amount of frozen that I can cut it without it making a huge mess. Now what you want is a really sharp knife, or like I said, a meat slicer, and you want to cut them about this thick right here. Now any fat that's sitting on the meat needs to be cut off because dehydrated well, fat doesn't dehydrate, and so it will make your meat go bad. So you cut all that off, you slice it into thin slices, and then you get those marinating. So I put all the meat into the bowl of marinade, and it fit in one bowl, so that's really good. And you definitely want to make sure that everything is well covered with the marinade. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put this in the fridge overnight, and I'll get up in the morning, put it in the dehydrator, and we'll monitor it as the day goes on. It's been a little bit over 12 hours. It's the next morning. Everything's been marinating nicely. So the next step that I do is I try to take about half of the meat, because my dehydrator will only hold about half, I think. And I've got to get a lot of the marinade off of it, because the problem you can have is that your beef jerky will be goopy. So I'm just going to put this in paper towels and layer it all with the paper towels, and I'll soak it, and I'll pat it dry, and then I'll place it on the dehydrator racks and start her up. And I figure it'll take about 7 hours to dehydrate, give or take. You do have to check it periodically. You don't want it to be crumbly, and you don't want it to be really soggy, well not soggy, whatever, like this, flexible. Just like when you buy it at the store, you want that same texture. Okay, so I got 4 good layers of beef jerky here. And what I'm doing is I'm just going to press it out like this. And it is going to be wet still, but that's okay. We're going to try to dry it as much as possible. And then I'll slowly peel back the paper towel here. See, it's still pretty wet. So I'll let that sit for a minute just to soak all the moisture into the paper towels, and then I'll peel it back, give it a little dab, and then throw it onto the dehydrator trays. I have a little bit of beef jerky left that wouldn't fit on my racks, and I'm going to put that back in the marinade container and throw that container back in the fridge. And when this batch is done, I'll still have freshly marinated beef to continue dehydrating. So here's what I have on my racks. Notice I left a lot of space. That's important for it to dry. And I also sprinkled pepper, freshly ground pepper over top of it all. And that's really the finishing touch. So I'm going to turn my dehydrator on for I don't know, 6-7 hours, and I'll just keep monitoring my pieces as I go, and when I think they're done, I'll take them off, and then I'll put on the next batch. Okay, so after dehydrating the beef jerky for about 7 to 9 hours, I had to do 3 batches though, so that took me 21 hours of dehydrating. I ended up getting 2 bags, about yay full. I have snacked on some, and so has the family, so it's not quite as much as I originally had. But I had 2 bags about this big, and it made about 2.2 pounds. So what I've done is I've divvied them up into smaller portions of beef jerky, and I've got one for each day of the backpacking trip. And then I've got another one for the other trip. So one's going to be for the backyard hike, one's going to be for the solo camping trip. And I'm going to freeze these, and they'll be ready to go for that. I'm also going to put the date and contents on the Ziploc bag. I should have done that ahead of time. So that's it for beef jerky. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the video.